welcome back to this channel Misery Reactions, where I'll bring you the best reactions from YouTube. For those new here, I'm Robert from the channel Mislead Loyalty, and I love sharing my honest opinions on the most viral and trending videos of the moment. You know how it is. I sit here, we watch the content together, and I give you my most authentic, unfiltered reaction. What you see is what you get, pure sincerity and good vibes. Today we have a video that is breaking the internet, and I couldn't help but share my reaction. But before we start, if you like the content, support it by liking, subscribing, and activating the bell so you don't miss any reactions. And if you'd like to see more content like this or have suggestions for reaction videos, leave them in the comments. Let's get started with today's video. Thanks for being here. See you in the next video.
Hey, muy buenas noches everyone. Hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. Well everyone, sorry it took so long, but what's said is a promise, right? Here I am, starting off what this channel's meant for, which is reactions, right? Of course, it's gonna be my way, right? My reactions are gonna come from something I could put a personal tip on it. For example, this one's gonna touch on the RICO case or sweep they recently did on the barrio Rancho San Pedro, right? And something I've been talking about, for those that are with me on the other channel, I recently did a video on Rancho San Pedro, and about a year ago I actually talked about this individual. So we're gonna check out this video, and of course, we're gonna touch on the obvious and the things they don't speak on here. What's going on behind the scenes with a power struggle, the type of these that unfold in neighborhoods, right? That eventually leads to one throwing his career away, or them taking it, right? For no apparent reasons, but you're doing what you're supposed to as a sureño. But anyways, let's start. First, let's hear a little bit. I have not heard this, so I'll be hearing it with you.
We are relentless. It might take weeks, months, or years, but these folks will ultimately be brought to justice.
A multi-year investigation culminates in a pre-dawn takedown. More than a dozen members of a violent San Pedro gang tied to the Mexican mafia are now behind bars. Welcome to the Fox 11 News at 5. I'm Christine Devine. Fox 11's Nick Garcia is live in San Pedro with why officials say this is just the beginning of their investigation. Nick.
Right, Christine. Well, 14 people indicted, 13 of them arrested today, and there's likely more to come. Now, I've seen the search warrant that was executed today.
Okay, well, I don't know the rules and guidelines, right, of reacting and playing a video. I know they will eventually punish you, so I know I have to be stopping. But anyways, let's talk about the obvious, right? Which is what all neighborhoods do, which is, at the end of the day, we're gangsters. So we're out there moving. But I want to pinpoint on the obvious, right? Again, a year ago, I actually spoke about this individual, Crook. You see, a lot of people got their career taken for a lot less things than this individual, right? But with this said, let me say this, I was in Pelican Bay with Crook, and he's a female vato, so in no way, no sense am I directing this towards him, right? Because last time I got a lot of hate to touch on him. But, I touched how there was a time where they shot Toro's brother. Certain Pilis or members went to a meeting with them, and homeboy and his clique flexed up on the MA, right? And as you know, that's a no-no. To the point that, well, there's a family member of his out here in Culiacan that basically the way they said the Emmett turned around and went their way was an automatic death sentence, right? At least for a Southside neighborhood. Nevertheless, they got green lighted and they got taken off through the proper guidelines, right? But soon after, Crook's case or what he got busted for, right, was something that was a no-no. As you guys know, we weren't able to do drive-bys no more, regardless of who it is. You know, we have to get off and literally be on foot one way or another, you know, handling business. Anyways, homeboy went and did a drive-by and in the midst of this, you know, a black girl, 16-year-old got hit. Innocent, right? It had nothing to do with it. So, you know, he had a lot of issues in LA County. But the pinpoint I want to touch on here is the favoritism. You know, Stoney from Rancho, he's a Pili with a lot of weight, right? We're talking about weight for his antiquity. And he took a liking to Crook for whatever reason, right? That's between them. And basically shielded them, protecting him, and overall gave him power on the yards over Camaradas, over his city. And again, Crook deserved it in the sense that he had the mentality and he had him set between them, right? But again, I'll continue, but let's just watch a little bit more on this.
And I can tell you they were looking for a whole lot of evidence. A major bust in San Pedro early Tuesday morning, targeting the shot callers of the Rancho San Pedro gang, which officials say is an affiliate of the Mexican Mafia.
Today marks an important day in basically cutting off the head of the Hydra of one of the most violent street gangs that has been terrorizing San Pedro for years.
LAPD, along with state and federal law enforcement, were searching for evidence and gang members.
The federal complaint charges 13 individuals for their roles in a racketeering influence and corrupt organizations conspiracy, also known as RICO, and for conspiracy to possess and intent to distribute controlled substances. 9
firearms were seized, along with the tools to make ghost guns and drugs.
Okay, I'll stop it there, you know. I encourage everyone to look at the full news, you know, to get a better idea. Again, excuse, I don't know the guidelines of playing someone else's video and reacting to them, right? But anyways, to finish this up, right? Again, Stoney sealed Crook, right? And nobody really questions Stoney for his antiquity, for the love he has, right? So I'm not gonna say homeboy made it through, you know, skid by, because again he earned whatever he earned inside, right? But nevertheless, you know, we could speak about a lot of camaradas that don't get that opportunity, right? That you're just a member from a neighborhood, a homie. You don't get that love. So just even speaking back to Apili, that's automatic death sentence, as they did at one point. You know, on the other tip, you go against the rules and you get arrested for something that got put out real clear that wasn't going to be tolerated no more, right? And there were head bumps, right? As before he hit Pelican Bay, validated with other soldados of different pilis, and somehow, some way, Stoney always seen him through. Now the reason why I'm even saying this is not to take shots at San Pedro. My respects and love to San Pedro, right? The neighborhood. I met a lot of good homies from there. What we're seeing right now in the news is a power play. You see, the way the MA works, they're constantly at each other's throats. They're constantly trying to take what the next man is, even if they say they're brothers. But the question that I want to leave this reaction with is, what about the camaradas? Keep in mind, Crook was supposed to get out and do things for Stoney. Nevertheless, somewhere down the lines he got made, right? Once they get made, something clicks in them. When certain ones that they fiend for that power, right? You seen it with Mondo and Sana. You seen it with, younger Pili thinks it's his time, right? And Antiquity has no play into things. Well, that's exactly what Crook did. Got out, started doing his crew, took people from Stoney, started politicking against Tony Cruz to allow other Phillies to back his play. It's what they do. You see it play out time and time again. But the question that I want to leave this reaction with, why don't nobody speak about what's next for the camaradas? I don't know if I'm making myself clear. What do you think is gonna happen to those? Nothing's gonna happen to Crook. He's a carnal, right? All he has to do is move a little bit here, help out a little bit here, whatever. He'll be okay. And then from this, he's not hitting state. But what's gonna happen with the camaradas? The ones that were already under Stoney and decided to support Crook. Because they weren't just from Rancho San Pedro, but they were from same clique as Crook, right? Calle 6. They're done. At the end of the day, Crook's gonna do what all Pilis do, which is, as long as I'm good, camaradas come and go. See, when I say what I say, at the end of every video I do in the other channel, it's facts, right? You gotta be smart. At the end of the day, we're pawns, that there's thousands and thousands of us. You gotta always remember, even though they always seem to come out and go after their own neighborhood, every neighborhood, right? It's the same thing. Just because they're from the neighborhood don't mean they're gonna treat camaradas from that neighborhood differently than no other camaradas. Use and abuse y hay te ves. But again, this is a perfect example of how one member, everything he get, including staying good through his time due to the things he did, he owes it all to a Pili that showed him love or whatever, right? Interest, whatever. But then he has the upper hand, he gets out, and he starts thinking, oh, he's old. It's my time. So he utilized the vatos that we can't say no. We can't be comadres and start complaining to different Pilis, right? But the question is, you still support. Let me just say this. The people that support Stoney, I guarantee you out of this arrest, maybe 4 or 5 people are going to walk away from it clean. Crook, of course. My question is, when is a camarada's well-being for his career, for his loyalty is going to come into play, or when the things change. But with this said, it's just another greedy young Pili taking down camaradas, going against the one that he should have been most loyal to. So just think about that. If they can't stay loyal to themselves, camaradas, remember their neighborhood and that Sureño trip is out the window with all of them. They could dictate us, but we can't say nothing against them, right? And I don't say this to spread poison, I say this to, be wise. Stay true to those that deserve to stay true. Your neighborhood, of course, your homies. But don't bite into the drama. See the power struggle before it comes. Because at the end of the day, camaradas are going to get the bad end of the stick. Be smart. Stay true to yourself and loyal to loved ones. Please let me know what you guys think or where I need to better up at. I would highly appreciate it. Thank you for your support. Buenas noches.
See you in the next video. Thank you for your time and for being part of this wonderful YouTube family. See you next time.